Fast forward, Unikomo Ewo Channel so AGH Politics Avenue. Podcast stories are trending because making headlines. Na Jembre na EDB Exomo Ewa and EDB Yahu Braxi Mus and AD Kanya. So bit my subscribe to the channel. Or when you so bit my notification bell so share na out of 4 accounts so answer into me and Kebi Unia and EDB Ahum Braxi Mu. Mami Emfa Imra Ayowasu East constituency. Na mano kase by election Ecosono NDC strong room. Onia menye aksem koto akra director for IT Rashid Tanko etimi ababonten so abeka se omo candidate Baaba Jamal lead comfortably against Baaba Yusuf and so far na the ewo hono Mr. Ox at this point in time yemo enra NDC strong room abra omo asama mekan omo etum enchene but as so ajemre ewo house yembo enra story nim
Computer Deputy Director of IT and Elections for the NDC. Mana, what's Rashid telling you?
All right, so let's speak to the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, who we've been speaking to in some great detail. But this time, you have the results from your collation center and you're ready to show it to our viewers as well. Talk to us. What is it looking like? Did you cross a 75% margin you were hoping for?
I indicated to you that we're going to beat the MPP with huge margin. They thought we were joking. We've worked for it. For the past 2 weeks, we've been in the constituency, working around. The people are living testimonies of the good performance of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and they were ready to deliver a verdict for the NDC. I'm not surprised. That's why the low turnout. If you look at the figures we have, currently we've collated 91 polling stations out of the 113 polling stations. Very beautiful resource. We've gotten almost 9,000. That's 8,597. MPP is languishing around 3,000. That's how I told them they're going to get bad results. They should have contested this election. I don't know who advised them to come and contest this election.
Can we see?
Oh yes. This is our resource. It's there, live, real time. It's coming. And you see it populating. Within a few times you see the resource coming. When you finish the polling station, it will come. That's the resource in there.
But you're hovering around 63%. 63% in terms of low voter turnout, but you were hoping for 75 and all of that. Because I had some of your supporters say even if it's 2 people who turn up to vote, you're winning this convincingly.
Of course, because of the good works of the NDC. That is why we are seeing this. As I speak now, it's adding up. We are now in 92 polling stations, and the results keep on adding. Okay. See, because it's Ramadan, it's not easy. Ideally, the election should have been postponed, but constitutionally, we can't. The constitution stipulated that it should be 60 days after the demise of a candidate, that is an MP. And then so we're boxed within the time. But it fell within the Ramadan time. And that is why the turnout is a bit low. But despite that, look at the performance of the NDC.
We'll talk inside again pretty shortly because we'll both go to the collation center and hopefully by then we'll see a bit more in terms of the numbers. But thank you very much for speaking to us. Let me quickly grab the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC as well, Mustafa Gbande, who is also here, and just pick quick thoughts from him in relation to what it is that we've seen. I appreciate you joining us as well. You're cruising to victory from my interaction with Rashid Tanko, who has the number. You're cruising to victory.
Another vote of no confidence in the noise, the disturbance, and the pestilence of the MPP. Noise doesn't change the verdict of the people. And I can assure you that there's no going to be an election in this country that will not reflect the vote of no confidence by the people against the MPP. And that Ghanaians will never forgive them of their defraud, of the fact that they deceived the people of this country. We have lived the experience of bad governance in the last 8 years, and we are living the moments of a modest, disciplined government that is running according to the pace of how the country needs to grow. They say that there's low voter turnout, and that is because We haven't pumped money into it. For them, election is about money. For us, election is to allow the people to pass a verdict. The MPP should have come here and tout the influence and the contribution of President Akufo-Addo being a resident just here. But he has nothing to show. He's been living just here. He has not contributed to anything to this community. Now, today happens to be a market day of this constituency. And you know Zongos and our markets. Number two, today is a working day. Unlike Saturdays where if we're lucky to hold election on Saturday, the voter turnouts increase. Today also fall within a period where people are in communion with God, seeking the face of God, both Muslims and Christians. Because of these key important period that we find ourselves, it may have contributed to the issue of low voter turnout. But the persuasion is that if 10% of the people of this constituency have voted, 80% of that 10% will vote for the NDC as a clear sign of no confidence against the MPP.
I'm seeing the numbers. You're hovering around 63%. It's nowhere close to the 80% you mentioned. And you mentioned abandonment by the previous administration. You in the NDC have enjoyed more success than any other party in the history of the Fourth Republic in this particular constituency. The people say they want jobs. The people say they want development within the constituency. You've been in charge of it and you haven't given them that. Some will say that's the reason why the people are not coming out to vote for you.
How did you know that we've come into government for 1 year, 2 months? We should have bridged the gap of defrauding this country for 8 years. Is it possible that the MPP's stock in trade and their pride is that we've stolen from the people of Ghana and we have not yet been arrested, and so they are saints? No. We have a dual responsibility. A responsibility to develop this country, a responsibility to hold people accountable. The prime of these two is that people haven't stopped having children, people have not stopped eating, people have not stopped falling sick, people have not stopped going to school. Government would have to bridge this gap. And that when you have done that and stabilized the rate at which people would have died, if President Akufo-Addo's government's foundation was what would have laid and stood on, when you have finished bridging the gap, then you can hold people responsible. And so for me, I am saying that within 1 year, 2 months, there is hope in this country. Even the fact that for the first time, we have experienced a violent-free by-election should tell you the kind of leadership that is in place. The kind of leadership in charge is what influences violence or no violence in by-elections. Even the MPP are feeling very peaceful in this election. It's a characteristic of President Mahama, it's a characteristic of the NDC regime, and they should be happy that this government is in place. And so for them to even walk into this constituency, to have a voice, tells you that they have no conscience, that you have stolen, and the fact that you are not in court exonerates you from being a thief. That is the MPP's threshold of governance with credibility and integrity. Posterity will keep judging them in every election. Like this one, he's talking about 63%. By the time we finish, I know that it will go a little bit higher. Computer is here. We already collated about 86 polling stations. We know our results.
92.
We know our results. At the end of the day, what is important is that there will be a vote of no confidence against the MPP in this election. That is very important.
That's the most important thing to you. But let's look ahead to what is the expectation of the constituency here, because we've been interacting with them, we've been having conversations. Many are the things that they look forward to seeing. Top of it, jobs, dealing with drug abuse, drug addiction, and what have you. Is there a concrete plan beyond winning the seat that the NDC has for the Ayawaso East constituency with Baaba Jamal?
You know, this is the first time government have consciously, through the security and law enforcement agencies, combated the issue of drug abuse. This is Nima. This is our community. If you were on red, you are still a member of our family. this government is taking a bull by the horn to dismantle such drug cartels. It's a key indicator of development in the community. Number two, this government will focus in terms of what it has promised the Zongo communities, it will fulfill. The foundation is being laid. This government, this community is expecting that when there are jobs, they will benefit from those jobs. And President Mahama's regime is a regime that every Ghanaian is happy and enjoying. And so if there were jobs, any other person from this constituency who qualifies for that job will get. The NDC's government will give what it has. It cannot give what it doesn't have. We are not a Ponzi scheme. Like they came and sang songs of development when they were doing nothing. We are not governing in that way. We are governing with honesty and sincerity. And I can assure you that the people are very hopeful of this government. The people, first of all, have faith in this government. The people understand the exigencies of time that we find ourselves in, that this is a young government that have had to bridge and hold the hit of the deep hole that President Akufo-Addo and his appointees have kept us in for the past 8 years. It is not a joke. And so we appreciate the lack of patience, the expectations, and I can assure you that President Mahama at a slow pace is delivering on what we have promised this country as a foundation that will grow this country.
Just finally, because you mentioned matters of accountability, and I'm sure you know where this is going, is a concern people have generally across the length and breadth of this country, the slow-paced nature with which you're delivering on your promise of holding the previous regime accountable. You've mentioned them a number of times. Where are we on that is a question everybody keeps asking.
I think that I belong to persons who feel that all the former appointees of the MPP should have been standing trial by now. But it doesn't work that way. There are two schools of thought. There's an issue of development and the gaps. Then there's an issue of accountability. So President Mahama is having to find himself in these two schools of thought. But if you check in the last 1.5 years, or in the last 1 year, 2 months, President Mahama have largely focused on developing the life of the people of Ghana, bridging the gap. Like I said earlier, people have not stopped going to hospitals. Will you leave these people and go chasing criminals? People have not stopped falling sick. Will you leave these people and go chasing criminals? People who have to go to schools, salaries who have to pay. Will you leave all of these important, responsibility and go chasing just persons who have stolen from this country? There is that understanding that, look, prioritize both, but bridge the gap of development first. And that is what government is doing. The fact that you have not been arrested today doesn't mean you cannot be arrested. Political crimes doesn't expire. It is true and it is factual that President Akufo-Addo and his appointees have led a fraudulent regime, but time will catch up with them. It doesn't matter how it delays, it will catch up with them. For them to even come here, apart from what you know and I know, to be shouting on top of their voice, don't worry, when we finish counting, you will see the results.
All right, then. Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll interact a bit more subsequently. That's the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, also the presidency. And this is what it looks like here. A lot of the officers or officials of the Electoral Commission from the 113 polling stations, they continue to come in. They go through a process, just like we saw in Akwetia, where you go through a verification process from the entrance. Then subsequently, there's some work done by the officials who are there. Then you make your way in. The projection of the results as to the polling stations, what the numbers are, and what will subsequently be a declaration, all is going to happen. And we see the police moving some headlights, right? Some very huge headlights, means they are going to illuminate this place pretty shortly. We see a bit more in terms of reinforcement as well from officials of the Ghana Police Service who are making their way here, ready with quite some gear as well, all in anticipation of quelling whatever tension may arise or misunderstanding may arise from this collation process. Not that there's that expectation, in all honesty, in terms of what it is that we've seen all throughout the day up until now. The NDC have showed us what is their provisional results, and it looks quite good for them in terms of where the results will end up. Because remember, in a parliamentary election, it's a simple majority, and percentages as to turnout and all of that do not come into play at all. And so a simple majority, yes, low voter turnout has come up. They've explained it away quite thoroughly in terms of why we're seeing the numbers that we've seen all throughout. And if you know, historically, by-elections don't do well in terms of a voter turnout as well. This is where we are currently. A bit more in terms of the EC officials continue to come through, and so not quite sure when the projections will begin. But we continue to be here for you, your election command center, and we'll bring you the details as and when they do come through. Back to you in the studio.
And Eric Mayonegbeta with that very important detail there from the coalition center. We know exactly what the preparation is over there, how things are going to play out shortly. Already, we understand a number of the polling station results are being transmitted to the coalition center, where we just showed you the Ghana Police Service mounting the huge lights also to ensure that everything is in place to eliminate the area, because as we've seen in previous elections during the coalition, one of the elements that influences violence is darkness. Okay, when the place is dark, people try to have all of these, very questionable thoughts in their minds and engage in the nefarious activities of trying to either snatch a ballot box or tamper with the entire process. The Electoral Commission has been quite clear with their collaboration with the Ghana Police Service that that is not going to happen. We've seen measures already in place, so we'll keep an eye on how things are playing out at the coalition center. We'll bring you up to the minute date and issues as they play out in the minute shortly. But let me also remind you that we have so far 36 out of the 114 polling station results here on your election command center. The NDC showing us 91 out of the 114. And based on what Rashid Tanko computer showed to us on the camera, based on their provisional results that they have received, some 8,597. 8,597, that's the 91 out of the 114 polling station results. They say they are at 63.57%. We dwelt on that to ask a few more questions as to what they, the NDC themselves, believe would be their own performance, because Musa Dankwa has put them at an ambitious 75%, which is going to be the highest. If this comes to pass, it would be the highest victory margin that any NDC candidate has won in the Ayawaso East constituency since its creation, since the creation of the constituency till date. We tracked from 1996, the highest the party has won in terms of the vote victory margin is the 70%. 70%. 75% will be the highest that we're going to see. And we'll tell you the trend shortly, Joseph, and that's what we see there. That the lowest in terms of the performance of the NDC was in the 2000 election. Even though they won with less than 45% of the valid vote cast during that election.
Absolutely. So the 2000 election that you make reference to, the NDC picked up the seat with 44.8%. If you go a step back, you see that they are down 53.1%. It dropped to 44.8%. But since then, you can just see the trend. They've been on the ascendancy at least till 2012. Then after 2012, there's a bit of a decline that brings them all the way down to 61.2% in 2020. Then the departed MP lifted the NDC up to 70%, which is the current record, which Musa Dankwa is projecting they may do around 75, which is more than this particular number. I want us to take a look at the MPP number and keep something in mind. It's an interesting observation that I made when Mayonegbeta spoke to Mustafa Gbande and Rashid Tanko as well, and Alfred, I want to bring you in on this. You see quite clearly that they were all talking about the performance of the NPP. They didn't seem interested in the performance of the independent candidates. I thought that was interesting, because from what we are seeing on the ground, it does clearly show that the independent candidate has put up quite a showing. And if in the long run, by the close of the polls, in terms of the coalition process, everything comes to a conclusion and the NDC do not get the 70% or exceed it. The question now remains that will it have made a difference if Sanda had not contested as an independent candidate? A lot of the time, people will say that, well, it's a by-election, it's a weekday, there's fasting taking place by our Muslim brothers, our Catholic brothers are also in the Lent period. All those analyses are things that they are variables. I mean, they are variables because no matter if each day we vote on an election day, there's something that happens. It can either be a weekday or it can be a weekend. We've heard people even say that we shouldn't do it on Saturday because of our brothers, the Adventists. So all those are variables that are in place. The only constant that we see every time around is that by-elections generally do not record a good turnout like we see in the general elections. So that is one that we can all concede to. But what we can also not play out of it is that more often than not, the by-election results, with the exception of instances where the seats are massively flipped, in instances where you see clearly that it's a stronghold of a political party and it's flipped, generally, they follow the trend of the general results as well. And if you as a political party decide not to isolate the numbers and do the analysis close, and you want to hide behind the fact and say simply that, well, it's a by-election, you will see your real smoothness level in a general election. And I can quickly just stay within Ayawaso, but this time go to West Wagon. Ayawaso, West Wagon. You remember when that by-election took place after Jaku had died and Lydia Sarah Malhassan won that by-election? The point was being made that, well, the results do not mean much because it's a by-election. People said that, well, she's won it anyways. It's still the outcome that people expect it to be. We all saw how chaotic that particular by-election was. But eventually, the general election took place, and we know that the NDC currently holds on to that particular seat in the person of John DeMello.
On that analysis, you know where I also was working in the 2020, Lydia Lassan retained for the NPP.
For the NPP, yes.
So that's an outlier, right? But then again, the point you made has some level of validity as well.
In fact, if you go a step back a bit, you will see the trend generally that, especially when someone like Kwame Wadaku was contesting in that particular constituency, you see the trend generally that it did appear that the NDC was gaining a bit of momentum in that constituency. So, yes, we are holding valid that it's a by-election, but we're also saying that the outcome, with the exception of significant flips, are mostly consistent with the strength of the political parties.
That's not in doubt at all. In
absolutely.
fact, if you look
so
at,
in doing the analysis,
consistency,
you cannot.
We and some who team course or channel so mammy and what's so Jim Reda send us or bad in the Adumi Edomania, Yeba sign elbow room.